Welcome. My name is Josias, and I am one of the presenters for today for our Team Player webinar for Red Team Flex. And I'm joined by the wonderful Crystal and Miss Tara, and we are all part of the client success team. And the goal for today is we're going to cover the Team Player setup and configuration. So we're going to show you how that works and how to get it connected, so that way the integration between Red Team Flex and Team Player can work simultaneously. We're going to show you how to enable and to invite your subcontractors to begin using TeamPlayer along with Flex, Red Team Flex. And we're also going to show you from the subcontractor's point of view what it looks like to actually what they see on the TeamPlayer platform, and then also what it looks like to actually input a vendor invoice in TeamPlayer. And then at the end, we're going to round it out with some frequently asked questions or some questions from those that have joined us today. And if you have any questions, please feel free to use the Q&A section at the bottom of your Zoom screen. You'll see the Q&A, and we'll try to answer your questions throughout the webinar, but also at the end of the webinar, we'll also address any questions that we haven't answered. So without further ado, we're going to go ahead and get started. So I'm going to go ahead and move my screen over to this side. And what we're looking at right now is I'm logged into my Red Team Flex platform, and I'm in the app card at the moment, right? And so here in the app card or the app section, you'll find all the various platforms that can integrate with Red Team Flex. So scrolling down to the bottom, you'll find the TeamPlayer Connect app card. So to get that started, what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to click this connect icon right here. And as soon as you click connect, the first thing you're going to see is the terms of service. So these are all the terms and conditions essentially to be able to agree and accept to be able to use TeamPlayer. And so if I accept these terms and I click connect, that's going to allow the integration in the two platforms to connect. And now if I scroll down to the bottom, I have my construction billing, right? So this is where I'll actually activate TeamPlayer for my Red Team Flex account and set up my various settings when it comes to the discount for the who's going to be paying the e-apps or all my vendor invoices and so on and so forth. So what you'll see here is each vendor payment or each e-app or invoice that is added using TeamPlayer is $10. So you have a choice to either assume the burden of the $10 yourself or have your subcontractors pay the $10 per invoice. Depending on what you decide, if you put $5 in this box, the understanding is you will be paying $5 per invoice and your subcontractors will pay $5 per invoice. You guys will essentially you decide what you want to, what kind of arrangement you want to have when it comes to your invoices. But whatever is set up in this section here is how that'll be set up. So I have my $10 per invoice. So what that's saying is all my invoices, I'm putting the burden of paying these invoices on our subcontractors. Now, what's shown here is this is the chart of account that if you're connected to QuickBooks Online, that my TeamPlayer invoices will hit or the actual fees will be applied to. And down here at the bottom, this is essentially the person or the contact within your team internally that'll receive that monthly billing for all approved e-apps. And then if we scroll down to our default application for payment certification, what we see here is I have my vendor certification in this box. So if I click this pencil icon, if there's any language or verbiage that I would like to change or adjust, I can adjust that here in this box and click save. And then I have, if I want to display my notary certification or my architect certification, I would just check these boxes here. Now to get a kind of preview of what that looks like, I click preview and here we are. That's what that looks like. So if I want that to show up on my AIA, I would just have those checked. Now on the left-hand side, what you'll see is you'll have your transaction log and your metadata. So the metadata gives you a full history of essentially everything that's taking place with the app card or with your TeamPlayer settings. So you can see all the times we've connected, disconnected, accepted the terms, so on and so forth. And then over here in the transaction log, you'll get a full list of all the invoices that have been submitted. So you can use this to kind of get a full history of who's using TeamPlayer and essentially the invoices that are going back and forth. So that is all the settings that I'm displaying here in the app card. So I've connected successfully. I see it's operational, so I'm good to go. So that's step one. So now what I need to do is I need to go into the configuration menu as the GC and actually configure my commitment forms to be able to actually connect and be used with TeamPlayer. So what I'm going to do for that is I'm going to scroll over to, once I'm in configuration, I'm going to scroll to the commitment form section, and I'm going to find the commitment form that I would like to enable to actually begin using with TeamPlayer. So but you can enable as many forms as you like, but starting with my subcontract authorization or my subcontract agreement, I'm going to go ahead and connect that one. So I'm going to click this grid icon here, and I'm going to click edit. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to scroll down to the workflow options down here at the bottom, right? And so you'll find here, there's the to be used with TeamPlayer connection option. So if I check this box, this will allow this commitment. It'll make this commitment eligible to be sent over to TeamPlayer. So anytime I am using any one of these commitment templates on any projects, this commitment, as long as the vendor is enabled, will be able to be sent across to TeamPlayer for my subcontractor to bill against. So I've checked this box. So the only other thing I want to make sure I'm checking on my commitment form settings is I'm going up here to progress metric. I want to make sure that amount billed is selected as well. And the reason for that is the other option is units delivered allows RedTeam Flex to be able to have multiple draft invoices. And unfortunately with TeamPlayer, with your connection with TeamPlayer, you're not able to have multiple invoices in draft status. So in order for this connection or this to work correctly, you want to make sure that your commitment settings is set to amount billed. So, and that's it. So now I've saved that. So I've completed step 2. I've connected the app card. I've set up my commitment form. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually make sure that my vendor is enabled, allowing it to be able to be that vendor to participate with TeamPlayer. So to do that, if you want to follow me, I'm going to go to the company section here on the left-hand side. I'm going to click on vendors. And what I'm going to do here is I'm going to find the vendor that I would like to invite to use TeamPlayer, and I'm going to enable their vendor profile to be able to be used with TeamPlayer. So what that looks like is if I go here into the search bar and I'm going to type in, I'm going to use my Melly 3D subcontractor, and I'm going to click on their name here. And on the right-hand side, you'll see the edit icon. So if I click edit, and I scroll down, you'll see this selection that says TeamPlayer enabled. So as long as I check this box and I click save, that'll allow this subcontractor, this vendor, to be eligible to be used with TeamPlayer. So meaning any subcontract or any commitment that I create and I assign to this vendor, if I email that subcontract or that commitment to that vendor, they can begin billing against that commitment and begin using TeamPlayer as long as this checkbox is checked. So I'm gonna hit save. And so that's step 3. So again, I've connected TeamPlayer in my app card. I've set up my commitment forms, and now I've enabled my vendor in TeamPlayer. So what has to happen now is I'm gonna go into my project and I'm actually gonna take the commitment that I've created and invite my subcontractor to actually begin using TeamPlayer. That's the fun part. So going over into the buyout tab, I'm in my project, Avengers Quinjet, for all my Marvel fans out there. So I'm gonna go into the buyout tab here, and I am working on this Chick-fil-A signs because everybody likes Chick-fil-A, right? And what we're going to do is I'm going to send this commitment, I'm going to email it out to my subcontractor so that way they can receive an invitation to actually bill against this commitment. So to do that, what I'm going to do is I'm going to click this view icon right here. And it's going to open up another web browser or a web tab, excuse me. And once it's been executed, or once it's been committed and executed and approved, as far as the commitment is concerned, I can email this out to the subcontractor, allowing them to be able to bill against this commitment. So if I click email here, I'm gonna take my contact out here and I'm gonna click this to icon. And I'm gonna find my girl, Carrie Underwood, so she doesn't dig the keys into the side of my pretty little souped up 4-wheel drive. And I'm gonna grab Chadwick Boseman, and I'm also gonna grab John David Washington, right? So those are the three contacts that I would like to invite to begin using TeamPlayer. So I click them and I click select. And down in this box right here, I can type in a custom message to my subcontractor. And so I'm going to go ahead and click send. And so now I've got my confirmation message. So now my subcontractor has received an email with an invitation to, one, either sign up for TeamPlayer, or two, use TeamPlayer so that way they can bill against this commitment. So now passing it over to my subcontractor, Carrie Underwood, or AKA Miss Crystal. She's going to show you what it looks like on the subcontractor side now that they've received the email, and what it looks like to actually bill against this commitment. Crystal?
All right. Thank you, Josias. And as Josias mentioned, my name is Crystal. I'm one of the client success managers here at RedTeam. And let's get started. All right. So I'm going to start here. This is the email that Josias just sent me with the commitment form. It comes over to your subcontractor, whoever the contacts that you sent it to. It's going to look like this, the same way any commitment comes over. It's not really any different other than the bottom where they can either view the instructions to sign up for TeamPlayer if they have not used it before. And then they can also click to open the subcontract. When they open the subcontract, it's going to look exactly the same like it does if they're not using TeamPlayer, except at the top, they're going to have this open with TeamPlayer. So then they're going to open in TeamPlayer. It's going to bring them to the TeamPlayer site. And if they had not registered before, they're going to enter that email that they got sent the commitment from. If they had not registered before, this area, when they enter the email, is actually going to send them a one-time code. It's only the first time that they log in. It's only a one-time code that they get the first time, and they'll enter that code, and then it'll have them create the password and confirm their company information. And then they'll be able to log in and view that project that you sent them in TeamPlayer. So we're going to log into TeamPlayer. So this is what it looks like when the subs log into TeamPlayer. They can view the users that have user access to TeamPlayer, the e-app transactions, and then customers that are going to be able to view any customers they have that use RedTeam and TeamPlayer. So if they had several GCs that are using TeamPlayer and RedTeam Flex, they're all going to show right here. So we're going to click into the GC. All of the projects they were invited to for TeamPlayer would all show here. So if they have 10 projects that you invited them to, they would all show in this area. Then next, we're going to go into the project. We're going to go into the Chick-fil-A sign. And then inside of here, this little red arrow at the bottom is where they can view everything they can do inside of TeamPlayer. So they can enter a billing. They can view all their previous billings and the billing statuses. They can view more details. It just shows the contract amount and information there. They can view their credential status. They can view their waiver status. They also have access to the plan room from here, which is awesome. They can also view any contract documents that you have sent them in here as well. So I'm going to show you next how easy it is to submit a billing. They're going to go to enter billing. They're going to select their bill from and bill through date. So for this one, we're going to do February 29th to March 29th. The AIA style billing format, that's the only one that we have, is the 703-1992. So that can't be changed. It looks like it can, but there's no other format that we use there. Then obviously it's going to show you as the GC here. Then you're going to scroll down. Here is where any of the SOV lines that you guys have set up for them, if there was 20 line items, they are all going to show here for them to bill against. So they're simply going to go into this period. In here, they can either bill a amount. So if they want to do $1,000, they can do that, or they can also bill a percentage of the project that's been completed. So we're going to go and we're going to do 25%. Click save. It saves that amount there. The retainage down here. So this retainage is actually going to be calculated on what you set up in the original commitment and SOV. This cannot be changed. So it's set at 10%. All they have to do is go in here and click save. And there you see it calculates there. And also the tax right here is going to be whatever is set up in their commitment as well. So then down here at the bottom where it says add files, this is where they can actually add any type of, if they have like a billing attachment, a lien waiver, a credential, anything that they want to attach to this billing that you may need, they can attach it here to the add file section. So then we're going to click agree to the terms. They're simply going to click submit. Go back up and fix our billing date. And that's how easy it is for them to submit through TeamPlayer. So next I'm going to go into Flex and show you how it comes over to you as the GC, how you can view the AIA style billing, and also how it looks in the disbursement authorization. All right, so we're going to go into here. In order to view this billing that was submitted, you're going to go into the vendor invoices. And it's going to show down here at the bottom. So they can view right here, you can view the disbursement authorization. If you scroll down, so in this case, the sub is covering that $10 fee. So it's actually going to come off that payout for them for that month. If you see down here at the bottom, that $10 fee shows right here at the bottom. So you're still going to receive the monthly QuickBooks invoice as the GC, but you're going to be charging your sub for that $10 fee. So if we go back to the area where you have the vendor invoices, you can also view the AIA style billing. You can download this, save it, send it to your sub if you need to, whatever you need to do, but you can view all of the AIA information on here. So then the next step is going to be either approving or rejecting this invoice. So you're going to go into the edit invoice. Where you can actually dispute this or accept it is over here. There's a thumbs up and a thumbs down. The cool thing about this is you can dispute this line item. You can make a comment, work only completed at 10%. You can save that. Then we're going to go down here to the approval area. You can also view their credentials or their lien waivers if they're up to date on here before doing anything as well. So that's also a great resource. In the approval area, in order for you to actually reject and send this back to your sub for them to redo the billing properly, you're going to come down here and click reject and cancel. So rejecting and canceling, you can put please revise and send back. And it's also going to show the details down here of what line item you disputed, which is awesome because that actually comes over in an email to your sub and they can see the information in that email and they know they need to log into TeamPlayer to revise that bill. So we're going to click send. All right. And then we're going to go back to the TeamPlayer site. And I'm going to show you guys how easy it is for them to revise that billing. So we're going to go back into the Chick-fil-A sign. We're going to go to the billing. And here you can see, so the last invoice they submitted was approved. This one we just rejected. So they're simply going to go in here and click revise this bill. That's how easy it is. It's going to open a whole new billing for them, which is going to be the next one in line. They're going to simply revise this. They told us, no, we didn't do 25%. You only did 10%. We're going to click save. Then we're going to go in and have to redo the retainage, obviously, because that's not accurate. So we're going to click save there. So now we revise that. The other cool thing here is that on that line item, it'll show this big disputed. So if they have 100 line items, it's going to be very easy for them to see that which line was disputed. And they can also view the comments. They can view exactly what you put in the notes. So that's really great and saves a lot of time from going through a lot of line items. So we're just going to agree to this. And we're going to go back to Flex. And we're going to refresh. We're going to go back to the little house, go back to our vendor invoices. And there it shows the revised billing. So the next step would be, now that this is correct, you're going to go down to the approval. You're going to actually go back into here, and you can either commit the invoice from here, or you can commit where I was just at. So we're going to just commit from here. This is going to go to the next approval. Whoever is the last person to approve this invoice is now going to get this, and they're able to approve it and get it out for payment. So that's all I have.
Thank you, Crystal. We're going to go over, we have a few questions. We like questions. Okay. First question is, how does a subcontractor track the status of an invoice within TeamPlayer?
All right. Great question. Let's go back and view how they can view the status of that inside of TeamPlayer. So they're going to go back into the contract, and they're going to go down to the little up arrow at the bottom with the red bubble. And they're going to click in there, and they're going to go to the billings. So here it shows any billing they've submitted. It's going to show if it was approved, rejected, or just submitted. Submitted means they submitted it, but nobody's actually approved that invoice yet.
Thank you. There is another one. What is included as credentials?
So inside of TeamPlayer, at the moment, they can only view their credential status. They can, like I said, they can attach that credential in that monthly billing. But right now, they can just go to credential status, and they can view their credentials and what the date of expiration is on them.
Awesome. The next one is really important. We have a couple asking this question. Can you show how the $10 fee is included in the subcontractor's bill?
Sure, of course. All right, so we're going to go to Flex. And inside of here, we're going to be able to view that. We're going to go to the project. And then they're going to go into the same area where they view the vendor invoices. And then inside of the disbursement authorization is where that's going to show. So we're going to click on this little paper over here. And down at the bottom of here, it's going to show that $10 fee right down here.
Very good. The next question is, do you have any information or guides that I can send to all of our subcontractors?
Yes, another great question. So we do have a GC and a subcontractor guide, and feel free to reach out to us. I do also believe we have it on the Help Center as well.
The next question is, how do I know if a commitment is eligible to be used for TeamPlayer?
So the eligibility of the commitment in TeamPlayer, if you go, I can share my screen. We can look into on the right-hand side when we're on the actual buyout tab. We see here in the TeamPlayer, you see it says sent, and then there's a dash. So that is essentially describing the different different statuses we have for TeamPlayer. So what you'll actually see, so the dash, what that's saying is that commitment is not enabled to be used with TeamPlayer. So what that means is the GC needs to make sure that the vendor and the commitment type are enabled to be used with TeamPlayer before emailing the commitment out. So that was what we showed you at the beginning, where we went into the commitment form and make sure that we can actually use that commitment with TeamPlayer, and also going into the vendor profile. If that's not marked on either one of those, then you'll see this little dash here. Then you have eligible, which would also be shown here. It's not at the moment, but eligible is the commitment type and the vendor essentially for this commitment are TeamPlayer enabled, but the commitment hasn't been emailed out to that contact. So the vendor will be able to set up an account in TeamPlayer and submit billings once we send them an actual invitation, emailing that commitment over to that contact. And then sent is what we see here. That is the commitment has been emailed to the vendor to complete the sign up process in TeamPlayer and either create a new account or to log in with the account that they've already registered and be able to complete the submission of that invoice. So those are the various statuses that you'll see for TeamPlayer. But again, you can always confirm that by scrolling over to your right, and under TeamPlayer, you'll see where that status is selected.
Great explanation. Thank you. Why can't my subcontractor see a project or contract on their TeamPlayer account?
That's a good question. It can actually be for a few different reasons. So one of them is they aren't part of the team. So if you go into the team icon or the team tab in RedTeam Flex and you go over to members, you'll see a list of all the team members that are on this project. So if they're not a team member, then that's one reason why they won't be able to see the project. The second could be the contract was emailed to an email address that's different from the one linked to your TeamPlayer account. So if your subcontractor has various, contacts that will be submitting the invoice, and you send it. So in this case, we have Carrie Underwood and we have Chadwick Bozeman. If I send my invitation to Chadwick Bozeman, but Carrie Underwood is the one that's going to actually submit the invoice, then I'll have to go back in and make sure I send it to Carrie Underwood, or else they won't be able to bill. They can only bill to the email that the person that was added onto the commitment when I send the invitation out. And then another reason could be your GC didn't configure the vendor profile correctly on the Flex side. So that's something that we can always fix for them. Or again, it didn't get sent to the correct email address, whether it's an error or whatever it might be. So if that's the case, it's always good for us to, when we're sending it out, to confirm that we have the correct email address on file, that way we're sending it to the correct person. Either way, it's always something we can always verify, or you can reach out to chat support and they can always help you with that.
Very good question. How does a subcontractor submit an invoice if the person who invoices a project is not the person who received the contract?
Yep. So this goes back to the point I said previously. Again, you want to make sure that you're emailing the commitment to the contact who will actually be submitting the invoice. So if it's not submitted to that person, then they'll have to make sure they give you or provide you an email of the person who will be submitting the invoice. And that way you can make sure you send that invite to that user for them to be able to actually bill against that commitment.
Awesome. And why can my subcontractor enter a billing for a contract?
Great question. So again, it could be a few different reasons. So first one could be that the commitment is not in executed status. So as we know, using RedTeam, we have a few different statuses, from draft, committed to executed. So in order for the commitment to actually be eligible to be used in TeamPlayer, you actually have to execute the commitment in RedTeam Flex, allowing that to be eligible to be sent over to TeamPlayer. So to know that, you see over here where it says status, you'll see executed. And RedTeam Flex does a cool thing where it actually changes the color depending on what the status is. So you'll see it appear in blue if it's been committed, and then black if it's been executed, and green if it's in draft status. So that's one reason they won't be able to see it. The other one would be the commitment has a draft invoice already submitted in RedTeam Flex. So like we mentioned earlier, when we were setting up the commitment form, they can only have one draft invoice at a time. So if they've already submitted one and we haven't either approved it or rejected it, then what will have to happen is we'll have to either commit or delete that invoice, allowing them to be able to submit another one. And so that's another reason they wouldn't be able to enter a billing for a contract. And I would say the last one would be, again, billing in draft in TeamPlayer, where they have a draft billing in TeamPlayer, so they can't enter a second one in that case. So either a draft in TeamPlayer or draft in RedTeam Flex would prohibit them from actually adding in a second one.
Great explanation. Thank you. Is there a dashboard where I can see my invoices as they are being submitted? Or do I have to go to the project's vendor invoice menu to see that I have invoices for the job to approve?
Yeah, so you can definitely go into the vendor invoice menu and be able to see that. And I would say that's probably the best way to do it. So you can either go within the buyout tab, click the hamburger helper icon, and go over to manage vendor invoices to see a list of your invoices there. The other thing would be depending on what your approval workflow is, or depending on how that's set up in your actual inbox, you also see that invoice there. But again, that has to be configured. Each company has to kind of determine what they want their approval workflow to be able to know if those invoices will be in your inbox.
Awesome. And we have another one that asks, where can we, our subcontractors, go for support or issues that we may face?
Great question. And this is something I definitely would say you should definitely have your subcontractors lean heavily into this. So when they're logged into TeamPlayer, like you see here, so right now I'm logged in, right on the bottom, you'll see the little chat icon. It's in red. So if I click that, one, they'll have access to our support team that they can answer their questions in real time. But two, they have the help center. So if I click here, it'll take me to the actual TeamPlayer help center where I could search for any article that may pertain to the issue I'm having, or we have some that are down here that you can actually click into to be able to get the answers you need. But regardless, between the TeamPlayer, between the live chat or the live person that you can get answers from, or the help center, your subcontractors are well equipped to be able to get the assistance they need.
Thank you so much, Josiah. I think that's the end of our questions. We would like to ask you to head over to the Red Team website under the events page to sign up for our next webinar. We would love to see you there. We thank you guys for attending, and we see you on the next webinar.
It's good. Thank you for coming.
All right.